What's up, Lucas? You probably, I have it set up to where this webinar is muted, so you can only hear me, but questions will be asked in the chat box. But thanks for joining in, bud. I'm going to wait it out for a few minutes. We had quite a few people register for it, but sometimes technology is challenging to get into these things, and I get a lot of people trying to figure it out. So we'll wait a few minutes. Okay, cool. Sounds good. What's her name? Rebecca. All right, sounds great. Can you just, so I make sure that you're seeing correctly on your end, do you just see the North Idaho Relocation webinar on your screen? Perfect. All right, thanks. All right. I see you've been doing some searching on the North Idaho waterfront site for some land. We can talk about that as well, as far as my thoughts on land and build and all of the details that go in with the building process up here. But there's definitely a lot of nice pieces of land to build on, but yeah, we can touch on a little bit more in detail about that. So, hi, Anne-Marie, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Appreciate it. This call is, or this webinar is going to be muted, so I can't hear your voice. And if you have any questions along the way, just go ahead and type it in the chat box, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. I'm going to spend some time at the very end of this call going into some Q&A. So during the call, if you have anything that you want to get answered, just text your question in the chat box, and I will be sure to go through those questions at the very end and answer those, so I get your questions answered. And depending on the amount of questions being asked, I have some other categories I could certainly volunteer to propose some questions, and then of course answer those proposed questions. We'll get started here shortly. We're waiting on a handful of people. I did get some text messages. There's a couple that were having challenges getting in. I know this Zoom webinar, sometimes it can be tricky and have a mind of its own, but I'd like to give it just a couple more minutes so that we can make sure everybody is getting in okay. I had quite a few people register for this presentation, so I'm going to spend, I'd like to try to knock it out in about 30 minutes or so. So I'm going to cover quite a bit of information pretty quickly. And, the goal, and I'll get into this more, is to, set up some kind of follow-up call with me. I'll be posting my call booking calendar throughout the call in the chat box. And we could spend a lot more time in detail going through maybe more specific things for your goals and needs. So just give it a couple more minutes. If you don't mind, just tell me where you're where you're calling in from. Just, you can put the state or the city if you want, but I'd like to see where you guys are calling in from or tuning in from, for that matter. You can text it in, or put it in the chat box. I'd like to see where people are coming from. Grant, I love it. Yeah, I'll get into that specifically. That's great. San Diego, Long Beach. So the short answer, Grant, is yes, but there's a small little nuance I'll get into with that, because as you'll find out, I'm from California as well, Southern California. But all right, we got mostly California people in here. Give me one more minute. There's probably going to be people that will join as the call's going on, but I certainly want to be respectful of your time. Yes, Luke, my father was actually from Long Beach, and he's actually up in Lake Arrowhead now, but I'm very familiar with Long Beach. It's unfortunately so many great cities have just, man, gone off the cliff, sadly. It's disappointing. Such a beautiful state. All right. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, there will be others joining. Hi, Claudia. Thanks for joining. This call will be muted, so it helps kind of keep things free from background noise and distractions. But what I'd like to do is, along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to ask the questions in the chat box, type them out. I'll go and spend some time answering some questions, and we'll do that probably towards the end. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, like I said, just want to respect your time. I'm going to burn through this as quick as possible without missing anything, but I certainly have a lot of information to cover. First off, I want to thank you for joining this webinar. My goal with it is, of course, you can take away something that is new to you. There's going to probably be some redundant information for some of you, but there is quite a bit that may help you just understand the area better. A quick reference to this opening slide. This is my father-in-law and my wife. We were fly fishing on the little North Fork of the Coeur d'Alene River last summer. I was the photographer of that. Put my pole down for a second to take the picture, but just quick, little pictures along the way, just kind of show the lifestyle up here. That's funny, Luke. All right, so the objectives of this webinar, and after the webinar, I'm going to just share just a little bit about me, my personal relocation story. I do want to discuss the state of the North Idaho market. I'm going to give you some insights and details about North Idaho. As I mentioned, we'll do some question and answer at the end. And along the way, I'll post my one-on-one calendar to book a call. Ultimately, with the purpose of that call is just to spend some time learning your goals, timeline of your relocation, and put a plan in motion. And as I say, just let me help you, help rescue you to North Idaho. So a little bit about me. I have been a licensed realtor since 2004. I'm the owner of NorthIdahoWaterfront.com and ExitCalifornia.org. I created ExitCalifornia.org as I was on the tail end of my time in California. I didn't really, at that time, had plans to move to Idaho, but it happened to be where I pulled it with me, and it's a relocation company. NorthIdahoWaterfront.com is a website that I operate as well, and I'll share a little bit more about that. I was an associate broker in California for many years. I helped hundreds of clients in real estate. We will be married now for 20 years in June. My wife is a pediatric oncology nurse. I graduated from California Baptist University in Riverside, California, where I played baseball there. I also coached college baseball at my junior college at Riverside Community College. My wife was a volleyball player there. That's where we met. We have two sons, an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old. My older son is a freshman in college. He's a fantastic left-handed pitcher in college, and my younger son is a sophomore at Lake City High School here in Coeur d'Alene. We're avid fly fishers. We love everything outdoors, and if you're an outdoor enthusiast, North Idaho has it all. I'll tell you that. So as I mentioned, my relocation story, I'll keep it brief. I am a Southern California native. So, during the tail end of when we were thinking about moving somewhere, we didn't know where it was. But both my wife and I had grown up and lived in Riverside County for our entire lives. I'm in my mid 40s now, so it was my entire life. And in 2019, the beginning of 2019, we made the move here. We didn't know anybody. We were waiting for her to finish college. We finally finished. We had our sons in high school, and we had a really small window of opportunity to make it happen. But we had the itch. We were looking at a bunch of different locations. My wife happened to vacation up here a handful of times growing up as a child. She said, "Hey, let's go check out North Idaho." So we decided to make a vacation out of it. I just knew right when I drove down the 90 freeway from Montana into Coeur d'Alene, it was an eye opener for me. It was like a wonderland, outdoor wonderland, and I realized at that moment I was in a different world, and it was a very convincing, life-altering moment where we decided at that time after the vacation that this is the place that we wanted to be. So we put everything in motion. She got interviewed for her nursing position, and the rest is history. We didn't know anybody here. It's 1,300 miles away. It was a complete leap of faith. And, looking back, hindsight 2020, it was the best decision that we ever made for many reasons. But we just, coming here, not knowing anybody, well, there was a risk there. But, we found that, it's a different world up here, just incredible people. And we've been able to assimilate pretty quickly. I really wanted to pioneer a new life for my family and the generations to follow. I mean, my whole family grew up in Southern California, and I don't know. I just wanted to kind of blaze a new trail, and here we are. So I'm very familiar, of course, with the whole emotions that go into relocating, the whole package. So I guess if there's anybody that can help you transition, if you are seriously looking to relocate, I'm definitely a great candidate for that. 10 reasons that make North Idaho a great place to live. I mean, more family time. I mean, the outdoor lifestyle has really created a tremendous opportunity for me to spend more time with my family. It's very freedom-centric, very patriotic. 4 very distinctive, beautiful seasons up here. Then the economy is really starting to thrive. A lot more opportunity, especially as more people move into this area. There's a lot more growth, a lot more opportunity. Very safe. It's a safe area. I don't feel threatened. I leave my doors open at night and not get stressed out about it. One funny story: when we first got up here, we were looking to car shop for our son. And I reached out to a guy who was selling a car. I said, "Hey, my son's looking to buy a car." And he says, "Hey, my car's parked over on this street, right off this dirt road. The keys are in the keys are in the little console where you put the cup." He's all, "Just park it where I left it." He's all, that's all I care about." And I started chuckling because I realized, I was like, man, I'm in a different world. If that was somewhere else, that car would have been in a chop shop somewhere. So anyhow, lots of outdoor adventures here, the arts and culture, the outdoor life, lots of outdoor venues, Coeur d'Alene, lots of, music events, food, dining, everything is just great. Downtown life is incredible. Quality, higher education. We're right near Gonzaga University. We're not far from Washington State. We're North Idaho College, University of Idaho, Lewis and Clark State, University of Montana, 2.5 hours east of us in Montana. So there's just quite a bit of opportunities around here. the summer and winter life, it speaks for itself. I can get into a little bit more about that moving on. So I wanted to discuss the state of the market kind of year to date from a year ago to getting caught up currently. And, as much as I want to give the, all the great things about North Idaho, I want to also kind of speak into maybe some, I wouldn't call them negatives, but if we're talking about pros and cons, this could be considered a con. And it's just more or less just from to frame expectations. Because of course, if you're going to be looking to move here, there's a lot of great reasons, but of course, real estate, as you know, there's a lot of people that have decided to move this direction, and it's really created a booming market. And so with that said, it's a very competitive market. So when it comes to looking at buying, it just really depends. Everything that I'm speaking into really depends on certain situations. But if we're talking about just competitive homes that are on the market, you need to be decisive and you need to act fast. And that's one thing I feel kind of uncomfortable with sometimes when I'm trying to counsel my clients about buying here. It can be taken wrong when I'm saying, hey, you're going to need to make a decision. You can't sit on this for 3 or 4 days and him and ha over it. It may be gone the next day. So like I said, we can ultimately identify certain situations case by case, but for the most part, we need to be decisive. You need to be pre-approved, ready to make an offer at ask price or above. Like I said, depending on the situation and the scenario, case by case. I'll speak a little bit more into some stats about where we're at when it comes to that. The competition has really changed the way homes are sold here. Lots of listings are, being put on there, and they're saying, the seller will decide on offers on X date, but they will have the ability to accept another offer prior to. So it's really created this kind of auction format, like this sense of urgency, this fear of loss type of environment, and very much a seller's market. So they're in the driver's seat. They kind of create those terms. New construction is very slow. It's not keeping up with the pace and the demand of buyers moving here. There is new construction opportunities, but usually new construction helps outpace and creates more opportunities, more homes available, and helps with that demand. But that has been a little bit on the slower end. Cash buyers are typically more favored. They are in command. But again, I've been analyzing the data over the last 90 days on closed homes, and I am starting to see a lot more financed homes. So not all is lost, but I did want to obviously mention that as a factor. There's if you're a contingent buyer, sometimes you get overlooked. It depends. If it's a very competitive multi-offer situation, a contingency is not going to be very helpful. Not to say that you couldn't get a home if it was sitting around a little bit longer or it was a unique situation. Contingency may work. I do have a solution for contingency scenarios that I'll share towards the end of the presentation. Prices are typically more than what people expect. There's very few deals here. People come here as like, I'm gonna underbid everything. Well, you're gonna just get frustrated and spin your wheels. There may be an opportunity, but it is very rare when it comes to getting any kind of smoking deal. Question I ask, I'll propose, is the market changing? I really do anticipate the market changing. Rates are on the rise. It's going to start obviously creating a little bit of a dilemma between affordability and the price of houses and what somebody can afford to pay for that house. So with increasing rates, that may create a little hesitancy with the buyers. Sellers may get anxious, say, hey, I'm gonna I want to maximize my potential gains and take advantage of what has been going on over the last year. And all of a sudden, more homes start hitting the market, creates more balance, and it turns from a seller's market to a more stable market. That may create a little bit more opportunity on prices to kind of recede a little bit. I don't see anything, collapsing or taking a dive off the cliff like we saw in 2008. But we'll start to see things soften and change here, I believe, in the next 6 months to a year. So things to think about before relocating, and it just kind of speaks into some of the things I went through. You know, just got to be mentally, you just got to mentally commit. That's the biggest of hurdles. You get so comfortable with your life and everything that your life in your life that you just don't really visualize or kind of mentally put yourself in that place of actually doing it. Once you finally do it, then it gets a little easier because then everything is in motion. All the parts start to come together, and then it happens. Plan a visit. Have a plan while you're here. I can help with that. I like to call myself a real estate agent, but I'm also kind of like a concierge. Like, you know, when you go to a hotel, they're saying, "Hey, go here, go there, try this, try that." I'm happy to do all that. Make it a worthwhile time while you're here. Get a feel for the weather. Typically, people like to come here in the winter to experience the winter. I'll speak into that a little bit more. Compare a cost of living budget. You're going to see across the board, you know, cost of living here is going to be lower. The higher of the line items in the budget is going to be the cost of living. But with the rest of the line items in your budget, it'll kind of, you know, even it out a little bit and still make it more favorable than most parts of the country. But with inflation, I know it's all relative across the country, but with you know, this lovely inflation number that we're dealing with, I think across the board we're going to start feeling the pain everywhere. But that's something we have to, you know, all kind of deal with. Prepare your home to sell if you have a home to sell. I'm very networked. I have a big database of very qualified real estate agents that can you know, work with you, and I can point you in the right direction with really well vetted real estate agents if you need that. If you're going to finance, connect you with a lender. I have some lender resources at the very end. Make sure you get pre-approved. Research healthcare, neighborhoods, schools, crimes, banks, fitness centers, shopping, etc. All the things that are you know, churches that are important to you. Get a few quotes for long distance movers. You know, price things out with U-Haul. Get familiar with the commute, you know, depending on where you're going. I can certainly answer those questions on a one-on-one call. Support systems, like I said, churches, sports, hobby groups. Those are things that, you know, if you don't know anybody here, those are things that you plug into. We did, and that was a huge difference for my family, especially with my boys playing sports. That helped. Again, very competitive real estate market. Just, we got to have a plan. We got to talk about it. After the relocation, North Idaho way of life. You know, we've got small town values here, and I think people are more concerned about coming here and assimilating and not changing things. So, Grant, you asked a question about you know, how they look at Californians. I think they're a lot more you know, accepting of Californians because it's their reality now. When I first moved here, man, I was on the freeway and I couldn't get my California plates off my car fast enough, to be quite honest with you, because I was just getting horn slammed constantly, and I'm like driving speed limit, getting mean mugged constantly on the freeway. And so they don't do that anymore. At least, I don't know. I don't have California plates on, but I know that driving around town, I think that people are a lot more accepting. I see a lot more Washington plates than I see California plates, but just come here and assimilate. Don't try to, you know, change the dynamic. I think that's what they're most concerned about. They're very patriotic here, very pro Second Amendment. That's something that you just have to understand. Very conservative politics. People are very friendly. It's, you know, I say it's okay to wave to your neighbors or a stranger passing by. I've gotten used to where I live, just raising my hand at everybody. Everybody's just, you know, very friendly and kind. 4 great seasons here, so much to do. Just get outside, live life, do the things that you've always dreamed about doing. And the great thing is that you live here. You can just constantly plan new things to do. There's so much to do. I could certainly point you in all the right directions. Summer activities, you know, I won't verbatim. You've probably had a chance to read the screens, but in the, you know, for the sake of time, we'll just kind of move forward. Winter activities, arts and culture, etc. So get into a little bit into the Panhandle. These are going to be some, you know, just some statistics. I spent a lot of time kind of just researching all this stuff and just kind of pulling it all together. There's a lot more to talk about. We could certainly talk about that on a isolated call, but I will go through some stuff. Population, you know, as you see, Kootenai is the biggest county here. That's where Coeur d'Alene is. I have a little infographic on the left here that you could kind of like see some of the cities, get familiar with, where everything's at. You got Boundaries, the furthest up north, closest to the Canadian border, and then straight down Bonner is where Sandpoint is. Kootenai is where Coeur d'Alene is. Shoshone is east, where like Wallace and Kellogg is, and then Benoit is like St. Mary's and Worley and Plummer. So that gives you kind of a little snapshot of how this panhandle looks. The cities in these different counties, like I said, I can't spend a lot of time doing verbatim because it'll, really stretch out the time. But Boundary, the main city up there is like Bonner's Ferry. Bonner is like Sandpoint, very well-known city. In Kootenai, Coeur d'Alene, and Hayden. Shoshone is like Kellogg and Mullen and Osborne. And Benoit is Plummer and St. Mary's. The 10 most populated cities. Coeur d'Alene is the most populated at 56,000, all the way down to Dalton Gardens is like a unincorporated area in Coeur d'Alene. And that's, the 2,431, but Sandpoint right there in the middle, 9,621. These numbers are actually, you look at them, you're like, wow, that's a city, and Sandpoint's considered a major city in Bonner County. But as you can see, Kootenai, Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Hayden, and Rathdrum are in Kootenai. Those are the main populated cities, but down to 2,431 below, once you go below that, it's like you start getting into the 500 to 1,000 range. So you really start to, get into the small town type feel as I was discussing. Once you kind of get outside like the Coeur d'Alene boundaries, it's still small town even in Coeur d'Alene, but it's, at the same time, you see that these numbers are nowhere near some of these major metropolitan areas in California and different, parts of the country. Major lakes and rivers, the Lake Coeur d'Alene, Hayden Lake, Lake Pend Oreille is in Bonner. Lake Pend Oreille is incredible. It's the biggest lake in Idaho. It's anywhere between 1,300 feet deep. They run submarine tests out of there. It's a massively deep lake, and they got some big old mackerel fish in there. I've been desperate to chase some of those here. I'm going to try to pick some out of the lake here this summer. So lots of different rivers, lots of little small bodies of water everywhere, small lakes, small rivers. These are just kind of the majors. Okay, some cost of living data. Here's cost of living in Idaho compared to the national average. As you can see below, the total cost of living as compared to the national average comes in well below what you would expect to pay elsewhere, making the state incredibly affordable place to live. Total cost savings as compared to the national average comes in at about 31% in savings. But as you see, the housing cost, which is the biggest line item in the budget, is on the higher end. But like everything else, you're able to kind of like weigh it out and get some of that absorbed with everything else. So that's some specifics there. Cost of living example, and just from San Diego to Coeur d'Alene, I listed a couple hyperlinks there. You can kind of do some cost of living analysis depending on where you're coming from. You can kind of plug in the from and to, and you can get a little bit of more insight to how it compares from where you're coming from. I find it to be pretty helpful. It's pretty accurate for the most part. Again, these slides I can certainly send to you with these specific details. I can't or don't expect you to be able to burn your pad of paper with your pen and write everything down. So there'll be a good opportunity in our one-on-one call to book a call and go through this information. Sorry, hold on, I have to do something real quick there. All right, moving along. Let me get here. Hold on. Okay, county median sales price and property tax. These are all the median sales prices in these different counties. Kootenai represents the highest. Just north of us is Bonner, and above that's Boundary. So those are kind of like the higher median sales price. Those are the property tax rates you can expect to pay. So when you're calculating your purchase price, that will be your property tax rate that you establish your property tax bill, or what you're going to be paying monthly. A nice little nuance up here in North Idaho is the $125,000 homeowners exemption. So if you own and occupy a home as your primary residence, you could qualify for this exemption for that home and up to 1 acre of land. And it's kind of, the example I list here. So George's property is a house located in Coeur d'Alene. The total amount of the property tax that George owes is calculated like this: 100% of the market value of his house is $600,000. 100% of the land is 150. So now we're looking at $750,000 established purchase price. With that exemption of $125,000, it brings the taxable basis down to $625,000. So that's a nice little caveat. I mean, ultimately, every little penny counts, and when you're able to take $125,000 off the top of your purchase, that will help. So here's the income and sales tax. I would imagine most are going to be over that 15,879 or 7,940 category. So we're roughly right around 6.5% when it comes to income tax. State sales tax here is 6%, so we're about 17th ranked in the country there. Here's some county hospitals. For people, obviously researching. Again, we'll get into, if you have any specific needs in our call, I can certainly pass along all this data. I spent a lot of time compiling it, so I'm more than happy to pass it along. That's what I'm here for, and that's what I put this presentation together for. Moving costs. I'm seeing that long distance moving costs are anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. Depends on the amount of stuff that you're moving and how many miles you're moving. I went a little bit of a different route. We saved money by just unpacking our own home, and we sold off a ton of furniture and stuff that we're like, you know what, I think we need to upgrade this, we need to upgrade that. We just sold everything. Some people may be able to do that, some people may not. But for us, we were able to. We donated a lot of stuff, so we really were able to drill down, get a truck that was that accommodated everything we were moving, and that's kind of what U-Haul's prices are per truck over, the house size and then, the general amount. I think with the cost of gas obviously going up, there may be an adjustment there. I'll have to probably kind of tinker things over time with this beautiful inflation we're dealing with. And of course, I'm sure you're realizing I'm being completely sarcastic, but that's something to kind of kick around when it comes to moving. Here's the North Idaho school districts for those of you who have, school-aged children. It is, here's all the different, school districts in each county, and the grade. So I went, took quite a bit of time putting this together. Happy to send this over to you. All the contact information, the phone numbers, the hyperlinks to the schools, the grades of the schools, so you don't have to spend time dealing with that. So hopefully that comes in handy. I can pass that along as well. Moving along, hold on a second here. Okay, so here I put this together just kind of as a little fun graph. The distances from Coeur d'Alene, as you could kind of go through and see, you kind of had a bunch of different specific cities within the counties of the Panhandle to, national parks, to Canadian port of entry is about 2 hours northbound straight up. Schweitzer Mountain, which is an incredible ski resort, which is about 1 hour and 17 minutes from here. It's about 55 miles. Montana border is about 1 hour away. The Washington border is about 20 minutes away. The Spokane International Airport's about 40 minutes away. So as you can see, these are all different areas. So it can kind of give you a general sense directionally and the amount of drive time to get there. But as you can see, we're sandwiched in between a lot of really cool places. We're going to be going back to Glacier National Park this summer. We went there last year. We stayed at the KOA campground in Glacier. It's right on the west gate. I'm telling you, it is an incredible KOAs are all over the country, and they have a handful, I think only a few, which are considered resort KOAs. This one's a resort KOA. I'll tell you what, that's an incredible experience. Beautiful. Right there on the West Gate. You're right there in Glacier National Park. So it's amazing. Here's some DMV offices in the different counties. Not going to go through in detail. I do just want you to know that this is available as data I can send you for your reference. Airports near Coeur d'Alene. We got the Spokane International Airport, which is very convenient, easy to get in and out of. And it's a 40-minute drive from there to Coeur d'Alene. Of course, if you live in somewhere in Sandpoint or a little bit more north, there's kind of some weaving that you can do to get to where you need to be, but the time may increase. But as you can see, I've got some different airports that are obviously nearby, relatively nearby. Here's the climate in North Idaho, from each county when it comes to rainfall, snowfall, how many days we see sunny, the average temperature in summer, the average temperature in the winter, the elevation of where we're at. You think that where we're at and the snow that we get, our elevation would be much higher, but it's not. It's kind of, I think, sometimes surprises people when it comes to our elevation here and the snow. So we're right at 7:33, and we're moving we're moving along. I'm going to be hopefully wrapping this up here in about 10 minutes. The one question I'll get to it after the presentation. It's talking about like the winter weather, because I know that's a big question for people, but we'll touch on that. Here's some stats. So I'm not going to get dive in specifically into each category. I can send you a very detailed report on local stats, but this is all of North Idaho. So if you're looking to move into Kootenai, it wouldn't be necessarily specific to Kootenai. If you're wanting to move to Sandpoint in the Bonner County, this is not specific to Bonner. This is North Idaho across the board. Okay, so when we do talk, I'd be happy to send you something more specific to the county. But this kind of shows new construction, as you can see right here, new construction from March 2021 to March 2022. It's down year to date. It's down. It's the average, the median and average sales price is something to kind of pay attention to. As you can see, from March 2021 to March 2022, you can see the 22% increase. So we saw a big jump in values in that year. I do not believe or see this obviously trajectory continuing when it comes to values, but I think we did see the greatest jump in values over the last year to year and a half. Year to date, as you can see, up from 440 to 594, 34, almost 35% increase. One thing I want you to pay attention to is the percent of list price received. So that is basically how whatever the property was listed at, that was what they got above listing. So as you saw in 2021, the 101.8%, that means if it was listed for 600,000, the value came in 1.8% above that list price. So I think we're looking at maybe 615,000. So that shows you that during that time, everything was going above listing price. This is, again, North Idaho across the board. Kootenai was a lot more competitive. So that number was more like probably 2.5%, sometimes 3%, depending on the situation, even greater craziness. But that gives you kind of a general idea of what properties are being listed at and what they're selling for, right at ask price. Here's previously owned homes. So as you can see, new listings from 2021 are down 16%, year to date, down 17%. Median sales price up 15% from last March to this March. This information is kind of just back 1 month, as obviously now we're in April. Once April concludes, it'll give us a more broad perspective of April. But so we're 1 month in the rears. Percent of list price, again, look at that category, 102.3% above list price. Now we're in March, we're at 100.7%. We're starting to come down closer to ask price, still competitive. Year to date, it's now showing that it's starting to trend down. So that's a good thing. I'm also a fan of a healthy market. I don't like seeing, even being a homeowner here, I don't like seeing things crazy, out of control pricing. I want to really see some balance and stability, so that people have an opportunity here. Moving forward, financing and option tools. Financing options and tools. Let me rephrase that. Here's some lenders that I find that are really helpful. I've got a couple others, but I usually list these individuals. I'll pass along their information if ultimately it becomes something you're wanting to kind of like look into what you qualify for. They're all very qualified and great, at what they do. So I mentioned earlier about contingency and it being competitive if you have a house to sell. This is a very strategic loan that allows you to leverage your equity of your home up to 90% of its value to pull out a down payment to write an offer that's not contingent on you selling. He can certainly answer more questions, get into some more details on how that would look. But there is obviously some moving parts to it. The fact that you obviously will have a mortgage on your home, and then a second, technically, like a bridge, and then a new mortgage. Usually that new mortgage that you get on a new home is going to be delayed. So if you say you closed in February, you won't have a payment due until March and April. So it gives you a little bit of a delay on a new payment. Put your house on the market. Obviously homes are going quickly. You sell your house, but it's not contingent to sell to get into a house. So this is it's just a solution. It's something that you can use to potentially give yourself an advantage. Here's another tool I think is really cool. It's called AirDNA. .co, not .com. I didn't miss the M. So you're able to analyze homes that are Airbnb homes, and this is kind of like the back end analytics of Airbnb. It gives you a full scope of what a property is, the daily rate and what it's getting, the vacancy, occupancy, all of the details that you would need to make an informed decision. If you were an investor looking to maybe buy a vacation home, or say you wanted to buy a vacation home and rent it out 6 months of the year, Airbnb, this is a tool that I think is fantastic, and it's something that I think can be very helpful when you're doing your due diligence. New construction, I just wanted to kind of mention this as a real estate agent. A lot of times people go directly to the builder, and I always tell them that I think it's a lot more favorable to work with someone like myself instead of going direct to them. They're certainly going to be biased and obviously more favorable to their builder. So their agents with the builder, I'm not saying that they're going to be unethical, but at the end of the day, working with a real estate agent that represents you, your best interest, they're representing you, we can work through all the details and help you navigate that process. So if you ultimately are looking into some new construction opportunities, I'd love to be the one to check you in and just kind of assist you and hold your hand in that process. We're almost done here. Ideas of things to do while visiting here. The Coeur d'Alene Resort, the boardwalk. It's the world's longest boardwalk. It's super cool. Schweitzer Mountain Resort, skiing, mountain biking. Lake Coeur d'Alene cruises. They go down to St. Joe River. Really cool. Tubbs Hill. We do that hike all the time. This picture actually is Tubbs Hill. A week and a half ago, I took a picture off the trail, and it's just an absolute beautiful hike. The Coeur d'Alene River, go up to the North Fork of the Coeur d'Alene River. It's amazing up there. Go to Dockside and have a gooey. It's an incredible dessert. It's at the resort, Dockside. You got to have a gooey if you're at Dockside or down here. Honeysuckle Beach at Hayden Lake, really cool, nice little area to swim for the kids and just adults for that matter. Higgins Point to see the bald eagles. That's seasonal. Typically, that is, I think, more going to be lined up with like the fall in the winter, you're going to see bald eagles because they're eating the salmon that are coming through. Silverwood Amusement Park. It's in Athol. It's not too far from Coeur d'Alene, about 20 minutes north. Now I'll tell you, it's like a little mini Magic Mountain. They do an incredible job there. They got some pretty crazy rides there. I'll tell you that. Cataldo Mission, beautiful mission that's in Cataldo that was moved there, and it's just cool little place to go. I have a 2022 North Idaho Relocation magazine that I put together. It's my free gift to you for joining me on tonight's webinar. I'll email that to you when we're done. Very informative guide, goes into a lot of details, maybe a little bit more than I have on this presentation, but it's something I'm happy to send you. Again, my website. Make sure if you haven't registered on this website, please go to, here, I'm going to put the link here, northidahowaterfront.com/relo-webinar. I created a specialized link for this presentation. I'm not sure if that's live, but I'll email that to you as well. But it's one of North Idaho's most visited websites. There's thousands of unique visitors each month. Has every active listing. It's not just waterfront. It's called that, but it's got everything, homes and land, and it's very very user friendly. I spent a lot of time working on it, making it very user friendly. So hopefully that's a helpful resource for you. Yeah, please register, and I'll definitely it'll be something that you'll appreciate. All right, so again, let's I'm hopeful to have a chance to talk to you. One-on-one call. There's no obligation. I'm here to help you just with your plan, however long it takes. It could be now, it could be later. I'd love to be your guy. I mean, I love what I do. I'm patient. I'll work closely with you, and you'll never feel pressured from me. That's for sure. And you'll have to just experience working with me to understand that. And that's something that I look forward to the opportunity to meet each one of you. And let's see here, one more slide. Yeah, just thanks for joining me on this call. I'm definitely looking forward to meeting you. And so, the question, 6-car, I'm going to get into some questions. 6-car garage, possible with heat, no parking outside winter. Yes, I would say yes to that. I think that there's a lot of shops up here, big, everybody has a shop. So you've got combination of parking in shops, as well as like 3-car garages, depending on the house. If you were to build, you could certainly accommodate a much greater parking scenario for yourself. But, as far as parking outside, the winter is crazy. The winter here, that's one thing I want to touch on, is that it's not horrible. Okay. I think a lot of people associate here with this, like, just crazy weather, crazy winter conditions. Don't get me wrong, we get our winter, but it's not intense, just constantly pounding snow days, months on end. I mean, we have a few winter weather events during the winter. For the most part, we go a good amount of time where it makes snow, and then it melts away. And then during January or February, you may get a snow event that it sticks longer. Temperatures will drop. We're calling it, in the mid-20s to mid-30s, more on the consistent end of the mid-30s. We did see some, definitely chilly temperatures drop down into, the teens this winter, but, they do a fantastic job up here. With clearing the roads, getting things ready for people to resume their life and drive around. It's not something that is really affecting quality of life. We're in a banana belt up here, so the winter is here, but it's not like some of the areas east in Montana, of course Canada, where you just see crazy winter weather. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. Definitely, we'll look forward to talking to you. Lucas, can you talk a little bit about building your own home? Are contractors available up there, and the permitting process? I'm thinking, a timbered frame log cabin style home. Okay, so yes, building your own home is definitely something I find a lot of people wanting to do. It's very attractive. Uh, One thing I can speak into is that typically in the past, uh, there's a lot of pros there. Of course, you get to build your home to your specification. Ultimately, that is ideal. The downside to that is that because of the demand to move here, you've got a lot of builders that are picky and choosy about what projects they spend time on. And if they do take on a project, you're finding a lot of builders and a lot of contractors that are competent and are the type of builders and contractors you want to work with are just backlogged. So that building process is something you have to be very patient with. It sometimes may take a lot longer than in your mind, that you think it's going to take. The other thing is the cost of materials are up significantly. So that is a factor. So one favorable thing with building is controlling your own costs. That has kind of been diminished a little bit because the costs of everything have gone up significantly. So you're not really finding much favor in controlling your costs because you're having to deal with the increase in cost. Like I said, the ideal outcome is that you get to build a home exactly to your specifications, but you just have to be very patient in that process as well. If you have to put utilities in the ground, if you need to dig a well, that is another big delay, especially with well drillers. I'm finding that some people have to wait sometimes a year to a year and a half to drill a well. There may be community utilities you could tap into, electric, water, stuff like that. But if you are in a situation where you have to do your own well and you have to put in your own septic system, it's going to take a little time. The permitting process is a lot more favorable here. We're not dealing with a lot of hoops to jump through like some places that have crazy restrictions. So that's a good thing. But it's again, the cost of permits are not, anything excessive, but those are factors you have to kind of be aware of when it comes to building. So hopefully that, covered everything. We could certainly talk more into that. It's not impossible, but it is definitely something you're going to have to, you're going to have to wait on. And sometimes that wait can be significant. Gas prices here, we're right around $3.99. We've got a huge aquifer up here, the Spokane Valley Rathdrum Aquifer. It serves like 450,000 people their drinking water. It's a massive underground body of water. Let's see. Any other questions? I certainly want to make sure that I'm answering any additional questions that you may have. I really do appreciate you joining me on this presentation. Hopefully it was helpful. Renting, another question that I know a lot of people ask about. It's very competitive, just like buying. Very competitive. You're paying a premium on rent. So if you're an investor that is looking to pick up rental properties, you're going to be able to score on a premium rental rate. Depends on the bedroom and bath and location, but you'll do well there. But if you are looking to rent, you're going to be sometimes frustrated trying to find the right place to rent. That I think is it. Let's see, what's the singles market look like? Some country girls think you're great. Hey, we got it all up here, man. Lots of outdoor activities, and just people are all the time. You run into people on trailheads, and you're out fishing the rivers and hiking. It's all over. It's just a great place to be. So, okay, well, I'm going to wrap it up. I did go a little bit longer. I was a motor mouth trying to burn through it all, but please book a one-on-one call with me, and we can spend a little bit more quality time answering some specific questions and coming up with a game plan to get you to North Idaho. All right. You all have a wonderful evening and look forward to meeting you. Take care.